Hi and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing some quick little love notes from your person. This is going to be a message cards only reading, and there are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Bloodstone. Group 2 is the Indigo Gabbro. And group 3 is the Petrified Wood. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead, which I do recommend using so that you can skip over me shuffling cards in between groups to clear the energy of the group I've just read for and tap into the energy of the group I'm about to read for. So again, I'll give you a minute. Please use the timestamps and we'll get into your reading. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Bloodstone. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say it really was me, not you. So if this person pulled back very abruptly, went cold, became very distant with you, they are admitting, at least from their higher self, that something within them was deeply triggered. That this is some kind of an inner child wound, some kind of a fear of intimacy, something maybe that was said or that was done that really activated a part of them, a part of their shadow that they were not comfortable looking at, not comfortable discussing, a fear of you seeing too deeply into who they are, seeing beneath the mask, beyond the facade, and instead of really leaning into that place of fear and openly discussing that, expressing this, communicating it in a more mature and concise fashion, they may have instead just chosen to completely withdraw or to go kind of icy or cold, silent or distant with you. There's an understanding on their part that they have left you with a lot of questions. This may have been very frustrating, very confusing for you to experience in the moment, and even in the aftermath. But it seems to be something which they are very much aware of. This may be kind of a tendency within them to be a bit avoidant, something that they are now on the precipice of really looking at, something that they may have been avoiding kind of working on or dealing with previously. But it's something that in this particular circumstance, what has happened, kind of the wedge that has now been driven in between the two of you, that is causing them to really start to reevaluate evaluate themselves, their tendency to react rather than respond when they are feeling triggered or pressured in some manner. They also say you're all I've ever wanted. So there seems to be some regret as well in tandem with, withdrawing their energy, going really cold, kind of ghosting you, sort of running off with no kind of explanation. That again, they want you to know that it's them, it is not you. There's something within them that is deeply triggered, and it has nothing to do with kind of a deficiency or a void within you. This is a recognition of kind of those aspects of themselves, wounds that have never properly healed, things that have been kind of denied or suppressed or repressed within them. There's a desire to kind of work through these things, a knowledge that in order to kind of resume closeness with you, in order to evolve things to the next level, or to kind of actualize this desire to move toward calmer waters with you, maybe reach out with an apology, re-enter your life in some way, work to rebuild this connection, that it's going to require work within themselves first and foremost. Things needing to be addressed within them, the vibration within them needing to be raised, a balancing of the masculine and feminine polarities within them, which really involves kind of acknowledgement and acceptance, and working with that aspect of them that has a tendency to run, that has some things, kind of skeletons in the closet or shadow aspects of themselves or their own nature that they have been unwilling to look at up to this point, that has maybe kind of played a role in other circumstances where they have self-sabotage. This may be a tendency for this person, somebody who's very emotionally avoidant, kind of avoids deep intimacy, only is willing and able to enter so deeply into connections with others, platonic, friendship, romantic, even familial connections. And then at a certain point, it's almost like a threshold has been crossed. Things get a little too close for comfort, a little too close to home, seeing a little bit too far beyond the mask or the illusion. And it's something where panic mode really sets in. This can be somebody who almost like a deer in the headlights really just freezes, or they bolt, they run. And this is a tendency within them that you have now experienced, but that has been kind of a reoccurring pattern for them throughout their life. In this particular circumstance, what was kind of the sacrifice that was made, what the cost was of sort of using the same sort of methodology or tendency within them, is putting them at a distance, is creating this wedge and this barrier between themselves and what really represents wish fulfillment on many levels. The connection between the two of you, the level of feeling very, very seen, very understood, which is alluring and at the same time deeply triggering. And so from their higher self, they're really wanting you to know that whatever took place, it was nothing, that you did wrong. There's nothing that you should have done differently. This is really just illuminating kind of aspects within themselves where there is some sort of a deficiency, there is shame, there is guilt, there is denial, and that these are things that are needing to be worked through in order to kind of cross that threshold into potentially rebuilding this connection with you. They also say, I will come back for you. So they may be considering reaching out, kind of doing those first stages of sort of that shadow work, addressing these aspects within themselves, a tendency to run, a tendency to be very avoidant or to, kind of bolt rather than lean into triggers or fears that they are having, an impulsivity on this person's part to just kind of not really believe that things can remain good between two people. This can be a tendency toward self-sabotage, some things that they are needing to work out within themselves at this point in time before they are able to return to your life or to resume this connection in a more substantial manner. It feels to be something where they've almost taken a detour now at this point in time based on whatever it is that has occurred here, that has created maybe a no contact situation, a bit of silence, a bit of tension between the two of you. And this is now a task that they are faced with, coming to terms with this within themselves, working with these energies within themselves, facing these fears, facing their own reflection, and dealing with kind of that sense of panic or dread at what they are really recognizing, what they are seeing, what they know really exists and lives behind the mask and the illusion that they try to present present to the world. And so as painful and as difficult as this experience has been, it's a very necessary kind of turning point where now this person has the opportunity to work through some things within themselves, and really in kind of by proxy way, you've been gifted the opportunity to really detach yourself from any ways that you have internalized kind of their reaction to you, their kind of conduct in this situation, and to really learn to kind of not take so much onto your own shoulders, not to really blame yourself, not to, really step into that sort of lower vibration of thinking that you are somehow unworthy, you've somehow done something wrong, or that there was something kind of lacking within you, recognizing that oftentimes when people sort of run from us, it is in fact that they are running from their own reflection. And they also say, you will find me if you let go. So this is really talking about this element of divine timing being at play, that again, this person has an arduous journey ahead of them at this point, a journey of self-acceptance, a journey of self-recognition, needing to come to terms with some elements of themselves, work through some of these difficulties and shadows and kind of tendencies to be deeply triggered. It's something which is not going to happen overnight, this idea of letting go, just kind of letting things evolve naturally at this point. Allowing this person the time and space, maybe even sitting in kind of this coldness that they have generated now between the two of you through their actions, and that this can really be the best teacher for them in terms of, making that decision to operate in a different way, very contrary to their usual MO, their usual kind of nature or tendency. There's an opportunity for evolution and growth here, but it is something which it's a path that they need to kind of walk on their own. Again, these are not changes that will happen overnight, but it's something that may take time. So from their higher self, they're really asking you to really allow them that. If you have already been allowing that, this can be that higher self letting you know as well that there's still more work that they need to do. If they were to approach or sort of come back, it would still be as kind of this work in progress. They don't have all the answers, and truly nobody ever does at any point in time. Healing is always kind of a work in progress. But it's something that it's an important kind of threshold that they are moving into in terms of their own personal healing journey, or that these circumstances between the two of you have really opened the door and have illuminated some things for them that they have been deeply avoiding up to this point in time, have been really in denial about, that are crucial to be addressed and kind of reconciled within themselves before they are able to create any kind of measurable change between the two of you. And they also say the heart can be blind and frozen. So again, this really ties into that idea of the iciness that has been created now between the two of you based on kind of their reaction to you, and instinct to sort of run from this connection, to run from the intimacy, to run when they were deeply triggered rather than kind of leaning into that, exploring that, working through that with you, a very kind of reactionary energy here. And it's also really tying in with this idea of you're all that I ever wanted. And it's really kind of taken this distance, this kind of severing of some kind of level of the bond and the intimacy between the two of you for them to really appreciate what they had with you, something that is really motivating them to start to do that work internally, to start to really self-examine in a new manner, to recognize, their tendency to be emotionally avoidant, their tendency to run from intimacy, their tendency maybe to just invest up to a certain point, but then when that threshold is reached where things are getting ready to go to a next level or further than they have ever gone in terms of personal disclosure, or really kind of connecting with somebody on a deep spiritual level, that might be their cue to bolt at that point in time. And that this is kind of a pattern that they are recognizing now within themselves, and kind of the cost in this situation, that this is outside of sort of the ordinary bounds of other people that they have run from in the past. There's a sense of kind of void now that exists within them. a chasm that exists within them. It's almost a sinking feeling that may have been very immediate, or came very soon after kind of that instinct or that impulse to retract from you, or to go cold, to block off communication with you or ghost you in some manner. There's a lot of regrets about that, and they are starting to really see the light in that capacity. But again, it feels like a long journey home. It's a long journey internally, first and foremost, before they are able to bring any kind of measurable change to you in this situation in the 3D sense. They also say, fire up this flame that's burning between us. So this is not a situation of out of sight, out of mind. You still are very much within their heart. There is a desire to rekindle things between the two of you, to not have this be the end of the story. Whatever kind of awkwardness has occurred, or whatever kind of difficulties the two of you have faced, there is a desire to kind of remedy this, to amend this, but it again may take some time. And so in kind of this quiet, in this sort of solitude, or this period of pause in your situation, they are encouraging you to, move forward, kind of release the expectation of the time and manner in which they will return. But, to recognize kind of even that love which may now exist as an ember between the two of you, really hoping that you will honor that and that you will hold space for that. And that, kind of when the time comes, that they are able to bring something towards you by way of an apology, by way of honesty, by way of reciprocity. There's a hope that the fire of love that you have for them will not completely die, that they are still holding you in a very precious place within them. And there is a hope that you will continue to do the same for them, as much as you may need to explore other options, move in another direction, or just kind of actively seek to release sort of the hope of their return. They're very understanding that that might be necessary, and kind of the most sensible thing to do in this situation. But there's still this element of hoping that it won't be too little too late once they kind of get this figured out, if they choose to participate fully in that process and consistently in that process with themselves. That in time they hope to really bring something back towards you energetically that is able to rejuvenate the bond between the two of you. And they also say, I can't do this. So this really is speaking about a breaking point that this person has reached, something you have deeply triggered within them, that has threatened kind of the mask or the illusion that they have been wearing. They may be kind of in this withdrawn period in general, kind of going into a hermit mode in their life in many ways. There's a lot that's being called into question. They're really now looking at who they are, the choices that they have made in the life that has created for themselves, a lot of wounds and shadows, things they've been avoiding. They're understanding that they can't keep going on like this through their life, that the cost, it just becomes greater and greater over time. Rather than kind of garnering freedom for themselves, they seem to be almost backing themselves into a corner. It's a tighter and tighter sort of box that they are living in at this point in time, as they are kind of sabotaging and thwarting the opportunity for real intimacy, real connection with another person on a spiritual level, a real opportunity to be seen and known for exactly who they are. That this may have been kind of a coping mechanism that had been very successful for them in the past, but something about this particular situation, kind of what was lost, as kind of the fallout from this tendency within them, with whatever occurred with the two of you. It's something that it has really brought to their attention, this pattern within them in a new way, from a new vantage point. And it feels to really be kind of this pivot point, this motivation, this threshold that they are at, kind of a crossroads energy, where the circumstances are now ripe. The cost has been so great in many ways, that it is actually motivating them to start doing this internal work that they may have deferred for some time. They also say, I miss hearing your voice. So they're missing your wisdom, your conversations, your laughter, even the friendly banter between the two of you. There is this desire to move back in your direction, in the direction of intimacy, to talk things out, an apology that may be owed or an explanation, but that they are still in kind of this process of formulating that, coming to a deeper understanding of who they are, what their motivations are, wounds within them that are kind of haphazardly sort of affecting how they are showing up in love and partnerships, and things that need to be really worked through within themselves first and foremost, before they can come back towards you and have something measurable to offer. And they also say, I can't be with you. So at this point in time, again, hermit mode is really what they are in. This is tying in with that idea of patience being required, that these changes are not overnight, that this is a long journey that this person is now embarking upon, or has really kind of found themselves upon. After what has happened with you, and sort of as a repercussion of that, something they may not have anticipated, but are now acutely aware of, that, it's very necessary for them to kind of deal with this toxicity within themselves. They can no longer do this. They can no longer sustain kind of this pattern of running and avoiding within themselves. But there's work that they need to do internally within themselves first and foremost, before they are able to move back in your direction with something measurable to offer. So it may take time, but it feels like somebody who's at kind of this first step, this initial stage of really looking in the mirror, looking within, kind of tending to their own internal garden, rather than projecting blame on others, or kind of continuing in these tactics of running and avoiding. This is somebody who's starting to really face their own reflection, finally, or even for the first time. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got Y, V, O, R, A, H, D, T, and N. So those are your messages, group 1. I hope they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled love letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Indigo Gabbro. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say, I was reminded of your scent recently. So this person could be in deep kind of nostalgia, getting a lot of signs about you, a lot of synchronicities, smelling your perfume, or just kind of feeling you energetically around them to the point where that energy is so tangible that it's almost it's enveloping all of their senses. There could be a lot happening in the dream state with you, and then they wake up the next day, it feels like you're in bed next to them, your energy kind of following them around throughout their day. Again, this nostalgia that is with that, seeing your name a lot, or just different reminders that are kind of bringing up from the depths memories of better times that the two of you have shared. And they also say, I can't take this anymore. So for those of you in separation and silence, complete no contact with this person, that kind of stalemate energy, that closed off energy, that quiet between the two of you, it is becoming deafening at this point in time. There is a desire to move back towards you, a hunger that they have for you, being deeply magnetized towards you and in your direction, almost feeling very compelled towards you, almost against their will, but in a way that is very enticing for them. They also say, I look at your picture often. So these kind of signs and reminders can really be triggering them to go back through photos of you, photos of the two of you together, to try and recapture the essence in a more tangible way of the experience of having you in their life in a more concrete manner than things exist between the two of you currently. This can also really tie into this person watching you from afar, watching you on social media, really being in awe of the changes that you have gone through. Maybe some of you have done some kind of makeover on yourself. You've gone through some kind of spiritual evolution, and that has resulted in a glow up, a change in your vibration. Your aura is different. You look happier, you look more at peace. You've really stepped into your authenticity or come into your own in some way. If it has been some time since you have spoken with this person or been in contact with them, it's a sense of they only find that you have gotten more beautiful with age. That you may have been through some very difficult circumstances, even kind of the situation between the two of you really being very hard on each of you, and yet you've carried yourself with poise and with grace, and you are really shining out this very strong energy from within you, this energy of survival, of triumph, of empowerment, and it's something that this person is very drawn toward. They see you standing in your authenticity. They see you having taken your power back from a lot of people and situations in your life, and it is something that is very alluring to them. It is making them kind of see you with fresh eyes, and to kind of reawaken or reinvigor the feelings that they have for you that may have gone dormant over some period of time, but have never fully been extinguished or have gone away. And they also say, our fate is to create an unforgettable story. So this person does not want the circumstances as they exist currently to be kind of that end of the story between the two of you. This could be somebody who is planning a return, planning almost, wanting kind of a sequel to your experience with one another, or a reimagining might be a better way of kind of putting that. A desire to kind of make up for the deficiencies that existed between you in the past, kind of the wrongs that may have been sort of inflicted upon you in this situation. A desire to bring forth an apology, a feeling of unfinished business between the two of you, and a sense that almost feeling that fate or destiny will align your paths further down the road. And there could also be really this sense of kind of anticipation that is building within them. Again, these kind of reminders that they have of you, signs and synchronicities that are on the increase, that is really drawing them back towards you. It's directing a lot of attention your way. You may be picking up on this energetically from this person, a sense of anticipation, a sense of wanting to make amends, to start over, to start fresh, to see if the two of you can really work through some of the difficulties or issues you had faced in the past in order to create a more constructive future with one another. And they also say, somewhere in time, I will find you and love you again. So again, this notion of the story not being over between the two of you, a desire to renew this situation, to kind of make up for lost time, to rewrite the ending of the situation between the two of you, not wanting to leave things as they are. This can also really tie into past life energy, a sense of a soul recognition that they have for you, this very uncanny bond that the two of you share, a lot of telepathy, a lot of energy that is exchanged even in the distance, even in the silence, even if it has been a very long time since you have seen one another. You are still very vibrant energetically within them. You have made a lasting impression upon them, and it feels to be something they have wrestled with in various ways through the course of kind of separation and silence, periods of time where they have really fought this. They have been really kind of resentful of the fact that they've been unable to kind of shake you energetically, a feeling of trying to kind of ignore this or extinguish it in some manner, and that they've kind of leaning more at this point into this energy of surrender, of just exploring and allowing, and really, kind of starting to bask in sort of that sense of wonder and curiosity, which is really drawing them, it feels, to kind of do some research. What are you up to? What's going on with you right now? Where are you at in your life? Because they feel so strongly compelled in your direction. And if they have fought this connection, they have fought this energy and this dynamic for a period of time, this really does feel to be that energy of kind of turning the page to surrender, to exploration, to being open to kind of the deeper meaning behind your connection, behind your bond, and sort of why the two of you, why your paths crossed in this lifetime. And they also say, I can't find the words for my feelings. So they may be holding back from reaching out because they are still in the process of trying to formulate some sort of an apology or an explanation for you. It may be very difficult for them in general to talk about their feelings. There may be kind of an energy of humility, and again, that element of surrender that it's very difficult for them to sustain long term. This could be somebody who is used to really operating in pride and ego, a very logically minded person, that feeling center, and even more kind of talking about their feelings, discussing things in an open and direct manner could be very kind of outside of their comfort zone. It's not what they're used to. This is not kind of their strength. This is not their usual sort of love language. And so it feels that efforts are being made, attempts are being made. They're really thinking about this. They're trying to puzzle their way through that. How to really convey the full kind of weight and gravity of the feelings that they hold for you, how to express that sort of deep and abiding regret that they have for how things have turned out, how to convey to you that you still hold a very special place within their heart, and how to really not just provide you with honeyed words, but really to kind of adjust their actions accordingly so that those words of apology are accompanied by actions of change as well. And they also say, I don't know what comes next. So again, kind of looking toward the future, feeling that the story between the two of you, they don't want things to end this way. This is not the entirety of what they want to experience with you, but an uncertainty about where you can go from here. Is it even possible to rebuild this? Is it possible to even reestablish a friendship with one another? How to start, where to begin? A desire for change, but kind of this uncertainty about really how to bring that about, which may be causing just a lot of energy of observation, not not so much procrastination, but like they're seeking the answers. They're trying to really uncover the best way to manage or handle this situation or to course correct in this situation. But they're really kind of, the solutions they're coming up with, nothing feels to be very sufficient. It feels like there's still something missing, some more layers of depth and vulnerability that they are needing to tap into within themselves in order to be able to bring to you that same energy. And they also say, I feel so drawn to you. So again, magnetized to you, seeing a lot of signs, a lot of synchronicities, feeling your energetic presence, a lot of dreams that are happening, very drawn to kind of reach out to you. This is heavily on their mind at this point in time. How to make things right, what to say, what to do, a desire to kind of pick up where you've left off or to try and work through the difficulties of the past in order to create a new future with one another. And they also say, I know you don't feel the same. So this really ties into the idea of some kind of glow up that you have gone through. And this may just be something that they are experiencing energetically, efforts that you have put in to kind of release this connection, to come to peace with the circumstances between the two of you and what has happened in the past. That shift within you, it has reverberated to them energetically. That can really account for kind of all these reminders that have come in, or this kind of resurgence of this energy, something having shifted within you, and it therefore shifts how they are sort of holding space for that dynamic within themselves, how they are processing that energy. Your vibration is different, and therefore kind of their subtle perception of that energy exchange between the two of you has shifted as well. Something has stirred within them. There is this knowledge that in order to come back towards you, they must come correct. There has to not just be words of apology, but actions which sort of back that up as well. There's a knowledge that what might have worked in the past, loops and cycles that the two of you may have been in. There's a sense that you've taken your power back from these things. You've changed, you've evolved, you've grown. And it really requires that same kind of effort on their part in order to be able to kind of reach you at the new frequency that you are embodying, and to really be able to create something of worth and of value between the two of you by way of an apology or a potential reconciliation. So I'm going to get some initials. This can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got B, E, W, K, U, V, R, Q, I, and A. So those are your messages, group 2. I hope they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled love letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the Petrified Wood. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know from their higher self right now? Okay, and they say, I just got caught up in the moment. So something could have really spooked this person, really triggered them deeply, causing them to run, to ghost, or to block you, or to kind of retract their energy very suddenly. It has left you with a lot of questions, a lot that you may have kind of taken upon yourself, wondering, was this something that you said? Was this something that you did? Kind of what went wrong? What changed so suddenly? And it's something to where it's kind of illuminated a shadow within this person. Again, this tendency to just kind of recoil, to go into their shell, rather than kind of speaking forth about fears or kind of periods where they are uncomfortable, or topics that they don't necessarily want to discuss, things that fill them with a lot of uncertainty or even dread. This can be even things as simple as deep emotional intimacy and kind of the complexity of all of that, a fear of being kind of smothered in a relationship, a fear of really losing themselves to a relationship. Things may be going very well between the two of you, and then all of a sudden this person almost just pulls the plug on that. And it's something to where they caught up almost in the fear of what was coming next, the intensity of what was building between the two of you, the deep resonance between the two of you, which may seem very counterintuitive, very counterproductive, but it's something about kind of the recent dynamic between you, or sort of the last encounter that the two of you had with one another. It was something very subtle that just shifted within them, alarm bells that went off, that caused them to kind of fall into these patterns and these tendencies, these habits within them to run, rather than to confront that fear of taking a leap of faith, taking a chance, and moving through fear in the direction of connection, in the direction of kind of a fresh start sort of energy. This is sort of bringing up the idea of falling back into old ways, into old patterns, a tendency to self-sabotage, or something even that was just really misconstrued, misinterpreted, that again highlights some kind of a wound or a shadow within them. You were left with a lot of questions, and they were kind of just left in their own energy to ruminate, maybe to feel very embarrassed by kind of their reaction or sort of how they handled a situation, but not really being certain what to say, how to move forward, really kind of perplexed about that themselves, sort of what generated or elicited this type of behavior out of them, a recognition almost of these same patterns within them that may have sort of dismantled connections in their past. A feeling something needs to change, but an uncertainty about exactly how to do that. They also say, I miss the feel of you next to me. So in the silence and in the separation, they are longing for you. This is an energy of nostalgia, missing that intimacy, missing that bond, that closeness with you, a sense that you have really seen beyond the facades that they present, and that you have touched this person at a deep soul level. That may have been very comforting for them and also very terrifying for them, a sense of feeling very comfortable in your presence. very accepted for who they truly are, beyond kind of the caricature that they are presenting, that you've seen beyond the skin, you have seen to their soul, you have seen their true nature, and this is a part of themselves that they have gone to great lengths to hide from other people very successfully. And it's something where, it was like an energy of resonance, feeling, seen energetically for the first time ever, wondering how you are able to perceive this about them, when all others have been oblivious or have been just content with kind of the surface layers of this person, feeling very compelled in your direction, but at the same time also this sense of insecurity that this secret aspect of this person, these deep layers and these deep parts of who they are. And as much as you have seen these things, it has been with the eyes of acceptance and love that you have looked upon these elements of this individual, which is so outside of the box of what they have been used to experiencing in their life up to this point. That there's a sense of home, there's a sense of comfort, there's a sense that it's okay to take off those masks, to take down those walls, to be vulnerable and to be seen in their true authenticity. But at the same time, a lot of inexperience in that manner, or even just triggers and reminders of other people that they may have let in kind of close to that inner sanctum, and how that had kind of dissolved, or how that had kind of fallen apart, how kind of that bliss or that momentum had been cut short at other times. And so it almost feels that this person was kind of repeating with you some kind of a cycle or an experience of what had happened to them previously, where almost kind of like cutting you off, cutting the situation off before they themselves could be wounded, hurt, or rejected. They also say, I'm trying to think of what I want to say to you. So they are recognizing they have overreacted in some way. They have again left you with a lot of questions, a lot of answers that are needing to be provided, that it's going to take effort, it's going to take work to kind of resume this intimacy between the two of you. Trust may have really been shaken. There could be a questioning or almost a skepticism that you are now kind of looking at this person with. Your guard is up, your walls are up, and it's going to take effort on their part in order to be able to bypass these things, to be able to transcend these things, that it's not so easy as just kind of waking up the next day and pretending as if nothing has happened. There is now a very profound elephant in the room, an awkwardness, a lot of hurt feelings, words that were maybe spoken in the heat of anger, or even just a very cold impenetrable wall of silence that you were kind of faced with very unexpectedly, that it's going to take some time to kind of melt that away. It's going to take some time to really sort of alter your perceptions of what that means, why that occurred, and sort of what this is a foretelling of in terms of the future potential of this connection. So they're in a process of kind of trying to piece together the parts of both their tendency to kind of self-sabotage, to sort of pull the rug out from under situations before it can be done to them, a tendency within them to sort of shy away from deep intimacy, deep connection, what this means, a recognition of other kind of times in the past where this has been the case, so some ghosts of the past that they are now really being confronted with. And kind of a crossroads that they are finding themselves at, to continue to just participate in this cycle, or here's an opportunity to really kind of break free from that, to choose a different path, to choose a different way, to choose almost the approach of honesty and openness, or to choose to continue to kind of perpetuate this silence and this avoidance for another cycle, or for the duration of kind of this lifetime, or even in what is possible between the two of you in this connection. And they also say, let me love you to death. So that reference to death can really talk about transformation energy, a fear of the unknown, a fear of stepping out of their comfort zone, that love is really beckoning them to kind of transform themselves, to transform their kind of tendency, a reactiveness within them. It is calling forth their attention to these triggers within them, whatever has really spooked them or, is very agitating to them that kind of resulted in whatever this circumstance is. It has left you with a lot of questions. There's a desire to transform, to change, to breathe life back into this situation with you. But an understanding that it requires personal transformation first and foremost in order to be able to present to you in a loving energy, in a reciprocal energy, in an energy where evolution is possible in the connection between the two of you. Love is calling them out of this tendency within themselves to self-sabotage, but it is also stepping forth into the unknown, which may have really been kind of the level of intimacy and acceptance that the two of you were exchanging with one another. That could have really been that trigger point. It's this unknown. Where do we go from here? What kind of happens at this point in time? Once we've kind of crossed this bridge, there's no going back. Once these revelations are made, there is no taking these things back. There's no unhearing those words or unseeing those things or, kind of turning off those feelings once they have been kind of witnessed and experienced firsthand. And so it's this desire to change. It's this urge to change, to choose another path. They have chosen the path of fear, and they are now being beckoned toward that path of love. And it is something outside of how they are used to kind of operating in the world. This is something that's stirring up a lot from their deep embedded kind of shadow self, kind of deep within the past, unhealed wounds and periods of rejection from their past that they have now turned around and become that culprit in the same sense. They have rejected, and instead, of dealing kind of with those elements of themselves that were rejected or ways in which they've rejected themselves, they've really projected that out onto you, and it's filling them with regret. Kind of inflicting upon you all of these feelings that have been so difficult for them to deal with, and a sense of not wishing that they had not kind of subjected you to that, wishing that they had not really kind of behaved in this manner, or been so impulsive in that manner, or kind of reacted in that manner, but at the same time not really sure how to kind of close the book on this aspect within themselves, how to really breathe life back into the situation now that things have been made just a little more complicated between the two of you. And they also say, to my heart, soul, and mind, you are kryptonite. So this is really tying into, again, this idea of feeling very seen, very, very recognized, very accepted for who they truly are, which is very alluring, but it also is bringing up all kinds of fears of weakness, fears of vulnerability, fears of, these secret elements of themselves being known, that somehow, you will then have this ability to kind of hold power over them. It's a personal power, kind of this mystery around them, these illusions, these masks that they have created, this persona that they have created that they kind of move through the world with. This is a safety net. This is a comfort zone behind which their authentic self hides. And there's an urge to come out of that hiding, to let themselves be fully uncloaked in your presence. But at the same time, by exposing these elements of themselves, by truly being seen and known and recognized and loved for who they are in their entirety, all of their complicated kind of facets and aspects of themselves. There's a fear in that. There's a fear of kind of the power you will then be able to hold over them by kind of knowing them in ways that they have, again, taken extreme measures to prevent others from being able to perceive up to this point in time. And they also say, words fail me. So another confirmation of I'm trying to think of what I want to say to you. They're not really sure how to explain their actions, how to explain this trigger within them, this kind of impulse or this behavior, this tendency within them. All the questions that they have left you with, they're not really sure how to answer these things, if they are ready to have that conversation with you, if it's safe to have that conversation with you, if they express these vulnerable and triggered and wounded parts of themselves out in the open. Are you still going to love what you see? Or is this something where when it's all kind of brought out from hiding? Is this going to make you think less of them? Is this going to make you respect them more, or feel less safe in their presence? Are you going to judge them maybe as other people have judged them before? Is this something where you're going to fear them as other people may have feared them before? Or is this something maybe where, you know, it feels almost like somebody who, it's a sense of if they speak these words, they will come to tears, and that this is something that they've really struggled to avoid. Somebody who may be very emotionally avoidant, very out of touch with their own emotional body, and things that have happened to them over the course of time. They've just stuffed that down. They've compartmentalized that when it comes to talking about their feelings, talking about kind of their authenticity, who they are, and that kind of all those intricate ways. They really only emphasize kind of their personal strengths, kind of the pride and the ego, but then this very vulnerable and soft part of themselves, this kind of soft underbelly of who they are, they hide that away. They hide it away from themselves. They hide it away from the world. And it's a sorrow with that. There's a shame with that. There's a guilt with that. And it's a part of themselves that is just, it is so frail and vulnerable and beautiful that it almost like brings them to tears. And this is more than the ego can handle, because it's such a contradiction to the very hard and stoic exterior that they have really presented, that mask that they have put on. And so a lot of work ahead of themselves to learn to kind of come to terms with their own feelings, to learn to express these things to themselves first and foremost, before they are able to bring something measurable to you. They also say, I have too much to lose. So this can really talk about these kind of deeply entrenched sort of masks and illusions that they have been living under. A life they have constructed for themselves that is based upon a persona, a version of themselves. There's a fear of almost losing themselves to this connection, that parts of themselves that they have really segmented away or hidden away or denied, to bring those more out into the open. There's a sense that their identity, as they know themselves, that they would be swallowed up in the kind of reality of who they truly are, in a more well-rounded fashion. They yearn for that, and at the same time that terrifies them, this idea of kind of dissolving to a previous version of themselves, a previous kind of series of coping mechanisms or tendencies within themselves. That there's this urge to kind of reinvent, but at the same time, they become so accustomed to the illusion, to the way things are, to operating out of this space of deep wounding and triggering, that the otherness of that unknown, that element of mystery, it feels to be almost too risky at this point in time to be able to explore that. A lot of responsibility they have, a lot riding on their shoulders. It feels like a lot of deep catharsis needs to take place. Again, that idea of kind of stuffing down the feelings, because to speak these things would bring them to tears. It's a sense of that watershed would very quickly turn into a deluge. This may have been something that was problematic for them in the past, kind of emotional issues that they may have had, times where, grief was very kind of overwhelming. It really kind of toppled a lot of things within them and within their life. And it's been a struggle to kind of create this very stoic persona, create these walls around them, and it feels very risky. There's a lack of confidence in themselves to kind of withstand these emotional storms, to go through this process of transmutation within themselves, to alchemize themselves into that best version. They want that, they are longing for that, and yet at the same time, there's this uncertainty about kind of what will greet them in the mirror on the other side of this very courageous act of kind of taking their shield down, taking those walls down and allowing themselves to be seen and known for who they truly are. And they also say, you broke my heart. So this can really tie into, kind of this energy. It almost feels like that they had kind of pulled away or gone very cold on you, and you just kind of honored those boundaries, and it broke their heart that you didn't fight harder for them, that you didn't try to kind of cajole them out of this corner that they backed themselves into, that you respected their boundaries, you respected their kind of need to sort of be very avoidant, that there is, also this element here too of just that profound acceptance that you have had for them, that they may have been operating with a very closed off heart chakra, a very icy heart, and something about just your energetic presence, the way again that you didn't cajole them, you respected their kind of need for silence, these kind of barriers and boundaries that they put up against you, and it's something which is so unlike what they are used to dealing with, maybe a lot of conflict oriented relationships, or people who were just very kind of pushy or didn't even seek to really scratch beneath the surface on kind of the contrast of that. And it's something about just the dynamic with you and kind of the compassion that you have had for this person, despite all their flaws and kind of the messiness of how they move through the world, that this is something that has almost broken this kind of shell around their heart open, a heart chakra activation. Again, this idea of almost if words are spoken, it will bring forth tears, and that watershed may quickly become a deluge. These are feelings which have really kind of risen up from the depths of them, things they may have not had faith in a very long time, ideas about love and partnership, being seen, being kind of honored, recognized and understood beyond the masks for exactly who they are. And there's a tenderness there. There's this urge and this desire to see themselves as you see them, and kind of this process of, their heart has been broken open. Their world has been shifted. It has been turned upside down. This may have been very deeply triggering for them, a feeling of being very exposed, trying to kind of hide away this heart within them that they had struggled to really kind of keep hidden from others up to this point in time, very successfully so. And yet you've seen beyond that. You've seen into the core of who they truly are. You've broken through kind of those defenses within them. And it's a sense almost of feeling very guilty and shameful and trying to almost put up a curtain at this point in time, so that you won't take too much note of what you find there, so that you can, hopefully just have this be kind of a passing glance and not read too deeply into things, so that they can try and just sort of replace and stand very still behind that mask, behind that illusion. But it almost feels like something that now that this revelation has happened, now that they have kind of those sort of thresholds have been broken beyond, in a very unassuming, very compassionate, and very loving manner. This is something they are unaccustomed to. There's this urge to break out of that comfort zone, but at the same time, this fear of kind of what exists on the other side of that. And they also say, I'm not financially stable. So this really speaks to a lack mentality. This could have to do with kind of financial difficulties that they are undergoing at this point in time that can tie into why kind of this layer of deep intimacy and deep emotion and kind of where the connection was headed. They needed to sort of put on the brakes in that capacity. They've got other things that they need to focus on. And it's this feeling of, once they tap into that emotional body, once those feelings start to flow, this process of personal transformation, it seems like they're barely holding on by a thread in a lot of ways in their life. It's a struggle just to make ends meet, or to kind of, keep all these kind of moving parts moving. And it almost feels like very kind of impulsive or reactionary on their part, that they just don't have kind of the bandwidth at this point in time to really explore these deep emotional elements of self to address a lot of this wounding. And so they've kind of fallen back into this tendency of allowing these triggers to kind of dictate, allowing these triggers to kind of put up a wall between the two of you, or put this wedge in between the two of you, kind of icing you out at this point in time. And again, this idea of kind of a lack mentality, not really feeling very confident in who they truly are, not feeling confident in what you will discover if you look too long at that authenticity. Are you really going to like what you see? Is this something that is sustainable in the long term? Will you get bored with them? Will you get tired of this? Is it something where kind of the work in progress that they are, and whatever pace that they are, sort of endeavoring to step into that best version of self. What if this growth is not rapid enough for you? A sense that you may outgrow them someday. And if they open up, if they kind of take down those walls and then you end up leaving them, or kind of finding out that they are not everything you hoped that they would be, what then? What are they left with at that point? So a lot of deep emotions that have stirred within this person, that it feels like have definitely resulted in them kind of impulsively sort of becoming very cold, ghosting, blocking, just really retracting their energy back very suddenly, kind of snapping that shell shut to you and to kind of what the exchange is between the both of you. A lot of avoidance, kind of avoiding sort of looking at their own emotions and the motivations for this. But there's this urge to kind of grow beyond this comfort zone, to reach out, to move beyond this, to provide an explanation, and to allow themselves to finally, and perhaps for the first time ever, be truly seen in their entirety for who they are. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. I've got J, C, R, S, T, W, D, Z, P, F, G, and M. So those are your messages, group 3. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled love letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of that out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.